Hey YouTube, I wanted to talk to you about something new that I just started doing. It's called Saxenda for weight loss. So a little bit about myself. I'm a middle-aged guy. I weigh about 260, about just a shade under 6 feet tall. I wasn't always a heavy guy. Weight just kind of came on gradually. I used to actually be quite fit. I know my nutrition. I know quite a bit about staying fit, but actually knowing it and doing it once life changes isn't so easy. At any rate, so over time I had some injuries which prevented me from working out, some lifestyle changes, getting married, having a kid, sort of a stressful job that had me on the road a lot, eating a lot of fast food and so on. And the weight just came on over time. You barely even notice it. Holidays tend to be really bad too, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever it is. You know, and COVID didn't help, so they call it COVID-19. I call it COVID-15 because that's about how many pounds I put on from COVID. Wasn't able to do some of my activities such as hockey because the arenas were closed and so forth. With summer rolling around, I decided it's an ideal time really to get back into shape, and a lot of that has to do with the warmer weather, getting out more. I like to go bicycling, swimming, doing stuff outside, and so anything to kind of get the system going again. So I spoke to my doctor about that and just sort of explained my situation. Some of the factors involved in and gaining weight and so on, and what he recommended was something called Saxenda. And what that actually is, as I'm sure you've seen the other videos, is you get a syringe like this where you're able to dial in the dose, and then you screw on a tiny little disposable needle, and then you jab yourself, wherever it is. Consult with your doctor. I'm not a doctor. I don't work for Saxenda, so this is just my own review and my own experience. I'm not really telling you what you should be doing. At any rate, what he had suggested is to start with the basic dose of 0.6 milligrams or milliliters, sorry, and stay with that for about 2 weeks. So the actual recommendation is 1 week, but he said stay with it until you start to feel that maybe isn't working so much anymore. Then dial it up more, because of course the manufacturers all want you to use as much of this as you can, because it keeps them in business, and it's a very expensive treatment, as I'm sure you've already known. A little bit more about it. So what does it do? What it doesn't it do from my experience? So it's not going to help you melt the pounds away by itself. So what it does for you, or at least for me, is it kind of gives me a bit of a crutch where I'm not getting the same crazy cravings I used to have. So I used to consider myself kind of a junk food addict, and I would feel those sort of addictions. I've never been addicted to anything in my life other than maybe junk food and fast food. And so it always felt like there was a bit of a devil on my shoulder saying, why don't you go for Wendy's tonight? Why don't you eat that whole big bag of chips all by yourself? And they'd usually come on like around late at night and so forth, and all I could think about was the junk food and so on. So when I take this, it kind of just makes me feel meh when I think about those things. So I can look at a bag of chips and go meh. Same reaction I'd have as if it was something healthy like rice cakes or carrots. So it's not going to do it for you. You can probably power through and keep on eating if you want, but that'd be a waste of money and a waste of time and so forth, and that's not really going to work for you. So if you're motivated and you're doing other things to help lose weight, this will kind of take the pressure off of those cravings and things that make it really hard to control and so forth. So myself, I started almost exactly 2 weeks ago. I'm down about 5 to 6 pounds, so about half of my COVID weight gain. Still a long way to go, of course. So I mentioned at the start, I started at 260 when I was when I first gave my first self the first shot. My goal is about 200 pounds, so I'm going to give myself the year to do that. If it happens sooner, great. Some of the side effects that they talk about. So for me, I didn't exactly get the nausea or the headaches, but something a little bit in between. So I felt a little bit queasy, just that sort of feeling like you're a little bit off. Not fully nauseous, not a full headache, but something in between. And to be honest with you, I can live with that. I almost expect that. One of the few good things about getting sick, from my perspective, is it has helped me lose weight a few times, where I drop a few pounds because you get really sick and you just can't even look at food. So any kind of treatment that helps a little bit in that direction is okay by me. That's a price I'm willing to pay. I still have some of my late night cravings. I'm a bit of a night owl. I like to watch Netflix or YouTube videos or whatever it is at night when everyone's gone to bed. And I still get a bit of a craving, but I don't have nearly as much, and I find probably throughout the day I eat about half as much as I normally would, so that gives me a little bit of that room. So if I went really hardcore, full bore, I could probably be losing weight a little bit faster than that, but I'm kind of okay with this right now. The needle itself is very tiny, and it just goes in under the skin. It feels like a mosquito bite, so if you have any apprehension about needles, I wouldn't worry too much about that. There's no blood. As I say, you barely feel it, and it's really not that big of a deal. And make sure you get instructions from your doctor as to how to do that best. The actual medicine, as I mentioned, is quite expensive, but here's a couple tips for you. So most doctors do have samples, and so that's how I got started. My doctor gave me a sample kit, and it included a full syringe as well as a pack of 7 of the needles. So you'd actually need more needles to finish this off, but the needles are relatively cheap, quite honestly. So see if your doctor has that, and we'll give you a sample so you can kind of get up and running, and you might be able to get about a month or maybe 2 to 3 weeks anyways, depending on how quickly you move up the dosages, and that'll be a big savings. Second of all, is something called Saxenda Care, where if you Google that, you can find discounts for your first treatment. So between the sample and the Saxenda Care, and of course my benefits helping out a little bit on that, I would say the first 2 months for me are pretty much free. So if at the rate I'm going now, if I lose maybe 15 to 20 pounds for free, that's a pretty good deal. After that, it does get a lot more expensive, but you factor in how much a gym membership would cost, different types of things that you might be doing, Weight Watchers, whatever it is, those aren't free either. So if you're doing some sort of weight loss program, chances are you're paying for it too. So go with the one that works best for you, not just the cost overall. The way I look at it is, as far as a needle goes, I believe this is actually a treatment for some diabetics as well. So, I'm not diabetic yet, but at the rate I'm going, I probably would be. So it's whether or not I want a needle now or a needle then. And so I'm willing to kind of do that now. And it's really not that big of a deal when it comes down to it. So that's my story. And I'm going to keep going with this, and I'm happy to provide updates. If anybody has any questions, feel free to post them, and I will try to answer them either in the thread or in a follow-up video. If you're interested, let me know. And one final thing, if you can guess where I'm located, put that in, and I don't have anything to give you really, but I'm happy to subscribe and like your own page and videos, and give you a shout out in my own channel. Okay, thanks, and take care.